that puffy.
Traditional housing has changed. We would be lying if we didn't talk about it. So we're talking about how properties have changed from the last 10, 20, 30 years into the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's pretty exciting stuff. Stay tuned.
Good morning.
Billy, the old man stuck in a young man's body. How are you?
I'm really good. Yourself? Looking really
Good,
tan.
thanks. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty. I'm feeling pretty tanned. It's been a good couple of weeks.
It has. I have to say, Michael's introductions have been great for the last, 2 weeks or so, but it's just not quite the same. It's good to be back on.
The ratings went through the roof with you boys doing it.
I think it's Michael's good looks.
So, what have you been up to the last 2 weeks?
Well, we've been trying to keep things, keep on ticking, but it has been different on the old morning minutes. I have to say, I'm actually quite excited to get back to routine. It's been fun, but there's nothing like good old routine, especially a good one.
Is everyone back?
Everyone's back, yeah. Everyone's back. It was, but it was interesting. Like, we had kind of made these new sort of like, I guess routines, so to speak. And as soon as they started to get disturbed a little bit, everyone kind of got the shits. Like, Silich wanted to go for his walk. I was trying to do some, Thai boxing or some exercise in the morning, and then we'd mess it up and everyone would be like, ah.
And what do you reckon about Sydney itself? I think I was talking to a mate yesterday. He reckons that some builders aren't back until Australia Day, so it's probably one more week till we're almost there. You reckon, or you reckon we're there?
Maybe for maybe all industries combined, but I reckon everyone that we're talking to is back. So your solicitors, the brokers, the buyers seem to be back. The buyer numbers on Saturday, week on week, have been getting better and better. It's been really busy.
Definitely.
So maybe there's a few more people, but I think a good 90% of people are excited and keen to get stuck back in.
And I think for us, the most prohibitive thing is when lawyers aren't all on deck. And I think seemed that most lawyers came back last week, but some lawyers were coming, sort of 20% of the lawyers were due back this week. So hopefully it's back to some exchanges, because I had a couple of exchanges that were held up with lawyers being away, but hopefully today and tomorrow will be exchange day.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, any extended cool-offs over the Christmas break will be be trying to push through probably in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, big time. Now, this morning's topic,
traditional real estate. So I think the last 20 years of real estate has been pretty good, but it's been pretty boring in my opinion compared to what we're looking at for the next 20 years.
It's getting pretty sexy, hey. Like, I noticed and what sparked the conversation this morning was we're talking about that in is it Dubai?
Yeah.
Dubai, instead of going vertical with skyscrapers, there's a concept of going horizontal with land scrapers, where people are pretty much building cities. Look at that. Show us it.
It's 100 miles.
So that
city.
It's 100 miles, 200 kilometers. 200 kilometers is like here to past Newcastle to Port Macquarie, maybe? Is that 200 k's? No, probably Newcastle.
Yeah, ish. That's a long city. So some of the concepts and the drawings have come out. So it's it's a 100-mile long city. The city in height is about the Empire State Building, and then they're stacking the Empire building long ways. And then there's like, the purpose of this is to have amenities within 5 minutes. There's no cars in the city. There's public transport that runs underneath, services run underneath. So some of the concepts as to what they're trying to do here is just mind-boggling. Keeping in mind this is in the middle of a desert where there's already no infrastructure. So they're building everything from the waterways, to the services to the actual property itself, the building itself.
So I was on a cruise ship out of Sydney, and I always get caught up in the engineering side of it, and it reminds me of what you're talking about at the moment, because when you look at a cruise ship, obviously it's almost a bit like a land scraper rather than a skyscraper. It scrapes horizontal. That they're pretty goddamn efficient in everything that they do, from power generation to emissions, to working towards zero emission, to treatment of sewage, treatment of water, desalination. And I look at this city that you're talking about, and it's almost like it feels like we're almost ready for a 100-mile long city in a desert, because if a cruise ship can do it, why couldn't a city like this do it?
It's true. And like we were talking about, how far these cruise ships have come. And there's things that you'll find on there. I haven't actually been on one yet, so when that opportunity comes, I'm going to be really excited. But, there's, from what I've heard and what I've seen online, there's things on these boats that just shouldn't be there. Like, from a logistical point of view, but they managed to squeeze them on.
Yeah, like that. There was a go-kart centre. There was, and what I noticed that they're really good at is repurposing. So they can use stuff 2 or 3 times over in the course of a day for 2 or 3 different reasons. And I think sometimes I find the way we live in housing in Australia, we don't quite sweat the asset. We don't quite get squeeze as much out of the property or the usage than we can. As an example, like you see a commercial premises that's great for dinners, they do wonderful dinners, and they're closed for lunch and for breakfast because that's not their brand or not their model. Whereas in the cruise ship world, they'll repurpose that to do something else during the day, because they're obviously tight and hard up and very good with usage of space. So opens us up to the question, guys, what's the property going to look like the next 10 or 20 or 30 years? If that's, we've had a lot of change with technology, but then we've had also a lot of change with COVID and stuff where people have decentralized. So the city's not doing what it used to do. The city's not working as hard as it used to work, Monday to Friday.
That's right. I think you can look at this on a small scale and on a much larger scale. Even on a small scale, like where space is a real premium. For example, some of the videos I love seeing on your Insta every now and then are these what would you call them? Where like a desk turns into a bed, or a bed turns into a dividing wall and splits the room into 2. I think there's going to be a lot more of that coming in. A lot more furniture that can be converted into something else.
Engineering sort of stuff. I think that's engineering insights that I throw those up every once in a while. They're cool. Bloody incredible. It's like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, but there's so many of them that they're out there, but they don't get actually used in maybe particular parts of society enough. So that's on a small scale, even for people's households. And then scaling it up, who knows where we're going to go with this? Wouldn't be surprised if we end up on the moon.
It's true, right? But you know what? What's happening under our nose that people don't realise is, which is very good, is the building products have changed a lot. Where we traditionally for 100 years or more have been very big around sort of, is it masonry, concrete,
Yeah.
brick, render. That's been like the traditional build, and what under people's noses, and it very, very quickly in the last 10, 15 years, we've moved over to lightweight construction. So I think that next 5 or 10 years, I think we're starting to identify as people are happy to get rid of the big yard, that quarter acre block. People
Yeah.
are happy to, instead of buying the house that has concrete slabs and double brick walls, they're happy to live and exist in lightweight construction. Air conditioning's a must, and I guess they people have pushed themselves over to that because they're not got concrete slabs and double brick anymore. So let's move to that. You know what? People don't mind a bit of a rent, being a bit of a professional renter either, Billy, because we never had a build to rent model scalable, where you'd have a block of 40 that was just rented out in the general marketplace. That never happened, you know. And now we even manage about 180 boarding houses. We call them boarding houses, but they're effectively sort of one bedroom or big single room apartments. And we've got 180 of them. We never had that before traditionally in real estate. So I think that build to rent model is going to change for us.
That's interesting, especially, when I guess coming into the industry, you don't know anything else, don't know anything different. That seems like the norm, but someone that's seen both sides, that's an interesting progression, even over one career, right? One career.
That's it.
Yeah.
So before we go, traditional housing is blowing up. It's what are we saying goodbye to? We're saying goodbye to quarter acre blocks.
We've got
double brick, full brick homes.
We've got another episode to come on, but maybe land and house packages. Is that a thing of the past?
Well, do you know what's happened under people's noses with land and house packages is the blocks have halved. So where the blocks used to be 750 metre square block, and you're going to buy a house and land package in French's Forest, which was 30 years ago. Now the blocks are sitting between 250 to 400 metre square blocks. And the homes are a little bit more significant. They got more bathrooms, they got more bedrooms, they got more living rooms than they used to have.
Yeah.
So that's definitely changed. The McMansion is definitely a thing of today, and wasn't around, wasn't scalably around in the 70s and 80s. That's changed.
It's interesting, but someone that's gone through a bit of both. What do you reckon, Mark? Is it more exciting now, or do you feel like we're taking away value here?
You know what? It's the way we move around our homes is very different to what it was. I look at my parents never hitting a restaurant. They could go 6 months or a year without hitting a restaurant. We operate differently to how we used to operate in the 70s and 80s. I look at, my parents never going on an aeroplane. They were happy. Immigrants from Serbia came to Australia, just happy to be here. They're not rushing to jump once or twice a year onto a plane to go overseas to do anything. They actually didn't really holiday much at all. I think now it seems it's more of the home's more of a base station, and where mum and dad were, my uncle and aunties were at our place a couple times a week for dinner, or we were at their house a couple of times a week for dinner. So there's less pressure on the homes to be what they used to be, and the land to be what it used to be, and I think that's changed.
It's an interesting analysis. I think you're right. I think you're onto something. I think that is also why, the rent vest model has particularly been so popular. If you can have a good base, and you don't need to have the stress of a big home on your shoulders, to look after maintenance wise and everything like that, it makes sense.
Well, look at a shopping centre. A shopping centre, you would go in, grab your stuff, and you'd be out within an hour. Now these shopping centres suck you in, and you're there for half a day, possibly even a full day, possibly with even the whole family. It's different. You used to go to Woolies and just grab your stuff and run.
Yeah, no, they've got it all covered. They've got it all covered.
It's different.
That's I think that's the show.
That's property changing. So where it's going to go, we know where it's gone. Where it's going to go is smaller, luxier, smaller land, more luxury, fittings, fixtures and stuff like that inside. People aren't sitting on the same couch for 30 years. They're swapping their couch out every 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's getting more luxier. Where it's going is the home's getting bigger internally. The home's getting more bathrooms internally. The home's getting more living rooms internally. But the blocks are getting smaller and the construction's going more lightweight, and people don't mind renting. So that rent vest where you could end up could be a thing of the future as well.
Same capital growth, you reckon?
Great question. Are property values going to go up the same rate the last 50, the next 10, 20 years compared to the last 10 or 20 years? What's your punt?
So I think we almost need a whole new episode on that. But I think no one has that glass ball. But the closest thing we've got to that, is a long recorded period of data. So taking an average of that and throwing it into the mix, I'm going to say take a punt and say yes, it will. It's going to go up the same.
Look, I don't think people are running out of Australia. I think they're running into Australia, and I think it's a lot of it. It always has been about immigration, whereas we're probably more attractive now as we ever were as a country for immigration. So as long as that continues, the scarcity of land continues, I'm betting that the property value is going to be just the same.
There's the answer.
Property value growth is going to be just the same. So what the market's done the last 10, 20, 30 years, I reckon we can mirror that 100% into the next 10, 20, 30 years.
There we go. Thanks, Mark.
See you, everyone. Take care. Have a great week. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.